Getting set for their 8th play of this drive. Herbert under center, back to pass. Steelers bringing pressure, and he is going to be sacked, taken down from behind. Herbig was in on that. Herbert in the shotgun. Steelers showing blitz, and they will bring the blitz. Herbert under duress, and down he goes. How about Keanu Benton? 4.5 sacks on the season. Steelers showing 4-man rush. That's what they'll bring. Herbert back, throwing on a crossing pattern as a man wide open. It's Ladd McConkey. TJ Watt lined up to the left. Highsmith to the right. It's 4-man rush coming as the snap is taken, and down he goes. Sacked. And that's Highsmith, the reigning AFC Player of the Week. Herbert in the shotgun, lifts the foot. Now gets a snap, back to pass, looking, steps up, and this time he's going to be wrestled down, and it's Highsmith who got him and dragged him down. That is going to be a second sack for Highsmith. He got him right around the line of scrimmage. Called to 2. Vidal in the shotgun next to Herbert, gets a handoff going left, has a hole off the left side, and he's into the end zone for the score. And the Chargers have now made this a 3-score game.
And a very astounding victory for the LA Chargers, an astounding defeat for the Steelers.
And that's the end of the game with the final score, the Chargers 25, the Steelers 10.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. After a trip out west for a primetime clash with the Chargers, Pittsburgh's hold of the first spot in the AFC North isn't as strong as it once was. It was a combination of scoring a season-low 10 points and a season-high 3 turnovers that led to the Steelers' third loss in 4 games. For much more on what went down in LA, let's welcome in Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin. Bob.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Steelers get set for one of 4 remaining AFC North teams. Cincinnati comes to town this week. Head coach Mike Tomlin is here reviewing last week's game out in the West Coast. You guys were in position to win some of that, but you didn't have success on third downs. But when you watch the tape, your biggest takeaway, biggest assessment from that game?
It was just that. Possession down play is significant at every level of football. And when you're not successful, you feel the consequences of it. When you are successful, you feel the fruit of it. And certainly we had a bad game from an offensive perspective on third down. It affected us in a lot of ways. Time of possession wears down defenses, and you felt that as the game wore on. I thought we were playing really good defense, particularly at the early stages. I thought as the game wore on, we wore down because of the number of snaps relative to the time of possession. I thought we were running the ball effectively on them. I think Jalen had, 14, 15 carries for 70-plus yards. He was on pace for a real day, but you don't get enough snaps when you're not converting third downs and extending possessions. And so it's a major component of engineering victory. We didn't get it done, and so certainly we suffered the consequences for it in a lot of ways.
Aaron Rodgers took ownership of this one, said he was not very good. And he seemed a little uncertain in that game, but he's also a veteran. You've had him now all season long. You know how he deals with the guys in that locker room. Now he faces a little adversity here, as he did earlier, after a couple of those games. What's it like having him, knowing his veteran leadership and what it means to your team after a loss like that one?
Him being who he is, I'm not surprised that he took ownership of it, but certainly football is the ultimate team game, and from a unit perspective, it was a collective failure, starting with myself and the rest of the coaching staff as well. They didn't deploy anything that was overly surprising from a schematic standpoint on third down. They worked to minimize DK and make us utilize other people, but that's really consistent with what we've seen. We just as a collective didn't make enough plays, and we as coaches didn't put them in position to make enough plays to ease the responsibility that Aaron shoulders as a quarterback and as the player that he is to win enough of those circumstances. And so certainly my confidence in him isn't shaken at all, and I certainly believe that his confidence in himself is not shaken, but certainly we got to put together a better formula this week because, quite frankly, we expect Cincinnati to do similar things. As a matter of fact, Cincinnati did similar things on third down last time we played them as, the Chargers did against us. We just did not have a good day from a plan and execution perspective.
Defensively, though, it looked like you did what you wanted to do in the sense that you took advantage of a team that had some injuries to the offensive line. I believe there were 33 pressures in that game, 5 sacks. From that point of view, your defense did, I guess with the exception of the run game, because the week before you stopped Jonathan Taylor, this week, not so much with that 6th-round pick Vidal.
Yep, and really we controlled the run game for most of the day. It's just as fatigue set in, as the time of possession got out of whack, they were able to gain some traction. But largely we were comfortable with the trajectory of it. And certainly I think we're finding our footing with the mix of Jalen Ramsey and Kyle Duggar at safety, and we've been able to settle that component of the game down. We're giving up less big plays, and I think we're playing better defense because of it.
All right, let's talk about you, because you've been through this ups and downs over all these years of coaching, so you've been in situations. I remember after the Green Bay game, you said we have some things to fix, and we'll be back, and you were, and you put up your best effort against the Colts. What will it take this time? Same kind of situation going forward.
I really think it's that mentality that really experience, in my case, provides, that this is a week-to-week league. One week, man, you're enjoying the fruits of success. The next week, you're up against it. And so win or lose, man, I just always have that mentality. I state it sometimes when the results aren't what we want them to be, but really I have that mentality week in and week out, that each week starts anew. There's big-time urgency there. You better put together a good plan. You better divide the labor up appropriately. You better put a bunch of irons in the fire in an effort to engineer victory, and that's certainly my mindset and always has been.
You also got some young players who are stepping up, especially defensively. You look at a guy like Keanu Benton, now 4.5 sacks. He seems to have really settled into that role that you wanted him to have when he first was drafted here.
Yeah, we got some quality players that are adding big-time contributions to our effort. And as you mentioned, particularly up front defensively, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Derek Harmon and Y.A. Black as well, who are absorbing significant roles in our front. We got some quality young people up front, but we need it. We need some young talent to go with the Grizzly veteran Cam Hayward. And so, but the same thing could be said in the offensive line. The core of our offensive line is relatively young, and I feel the overall trajectory of that moving in the appropriate ways. And I just think it's a component of football. You need quality young big people on both sides of the ball because that's the name of the game.
And the name of the game is winning, and the Steelers still on top of the AFC North. When we come back, Coach, we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and a chance to even the score with them after a loss in Cincinnati. Steelers and Bengals, that'll be our topic when we come back. Missy, let's head over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. And while one AFC North game will be taking place here in Pittsburgh on Sunday, the Ravens and the Browns will be meeting in Cleveland. The Bengals haven't won a game since their Thursday night victory over the Steelers. Coming up later in our show, Merrill Hodge has more on what is the same and different about Cincinnati since Week 7 in this week's Playbook. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Well, the big news out of Cincinnati this week is that Joe Burrow has returned to practice since injuring his toe earlier this season. But on Sunday, the Bengals quarterback will still be Joe Flacco. In his 4 starts with the team, he has led the NFL in completions, passing yards, and touchdown passes during that span. For more on round 2 with an old friend, let's send it back to Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. It's a Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock over at Acrisure Stadium. Head coach Mike Tomlin, let's talk about it. Joe Flacco last time had his way with your defense. What was the key then, and what do you need to change moving forward?
You know, I didn't think we had a large enough body of work to really get a feel for what we were going to get. There was a component of the unknown. He's 4 games in now, and so that's a big enough body of work to see his perspective on how the ball is distributed, to fit his skill set. He threw for 470 yards in the last game against Chicago, and that's the type of day that he's capable of having, and that's why I felt the way I felt when they acquired him. His experience is an asset to him in terms of managing situations and circumstance and smiling in the face of pressure or blitzing. And so I see all of that in him and them. I think he's getting a sense of the understanding of not only his talents in terms of the people that he works with, but how people play them. You know, Brown's performance in the last game in the passing game is reflective of that. I think he caught 8 for 75. Joe checked the ball down to him a lot. Chicago was committed to working to minimize 1 and 5. And so in situations where it wasn't significant, man, he just would take the check down to 30, and it allows them to continue to move fluidly. It challenges the defense. Sometimes you don't want to give up those check downs and put some of those other guys in one-on-ones. He knows when to take the big cut at it when those opportunities present themselves. And so really it's just about the fluid administration of the offense, and that's something that his talents and experience provides. I think they're gaining a better understanding of it. He's gaining a better understanding of how he fits into what they do. But in turn also, the people that are playing against them are getting a better sample size of what's going on, and so they have an opportunity to be better prepared as well. I'm certainly counting on us doing that.
Yeah, and you look at that game also, you always preach about stopping the run. In that game, they had some run yardage there. I think 142 for the game, specifically Chase Brown. When that happens, it plays right into their hands. How do you shut that down this week?
You know, it's circumstantial, to be quite honest with you. You can't stop the run and the pass in all circumstances, but they're not trying to run and pass in all circumstances. And it's our job to ascertain when they're in a run posture, whether it's situation or personnel group or combinations of both, and when they're in a pass posture. And to be quite honest with you, you generally have a pretty good feel of that. It doesn't make the execution of it any easier, but you're certainly in the right neighborhood, knocking on the right doors. And that's a major component of it.
When you have two receivers like Higgins and Chase, is it a case of picking your poison of who you want to try to stop first, or is it a collective group back there? What is the approach?
In the same discussion, it's situational. Sometimes it's game circumstance. Sometimes it's field position within game circumstance. Certainly, T. Higgins is a big-time red zone target with his size and stature and his ability to make 50-50 catches. On the long grass, you got to be fearful of Chase's top end speed, et cetera. And so there are a lot of variables that determine how you juggle working the schematics to minimize those guys. Certainly, you can't minimize them both all the time. Everyone else is going to kill you, as you mentioned. Brown had a big game in the checkdown game, and it's all because of the same thing. Chicago, at times, were overly committed to minimizing the one-on-one component of those two guys. But that's the challenge of competing against a group like that. And certainly when you got a group like that, you're probably lacking in other areas. Those guys make a lot of money, but they score a lot of touchdowns. And that's the give and take and the mode of operation that they choose to live under. For us, we got to make wise choices and distribute our personnel appropriately. There's certainly going to be some one-on-one circumstances. We better be careful of when we do it, and we better be careful of who we put in those circumstances.
Conversely, you guys had a lot of success. Aaron Rodgers had 4 touchdown passes in that game. Seems like this team brings out the best in Pat Freiermuth. And I guess your best friend in this case is ball possession. Keep the ball away from them.
Yeah, and largely, Pat has had big games against them because even through 2 coordinators, they're primarily a zone defense. And in zone defenses, a lot of the interior people get space and opportunity. I know specifically the last 2 times we were in Cincinnati, that was the case, and that's why Muth had big days. But for us, it's about possession of the ball, and possession of the ball is converting on 3rd down. We had success up there last time in that area, but certainly our last outing said otherwise, and so we're preparing with an edge because possession down play ultimately will determine our ability to control the ball and distribute the ball to our talent and do the things that we need to do to position ourselves to win.
Coach, thanks. When we come back, you're going to hear Mike Tomlin's key to this game. Steelers at 5-4, Bengals at 3-6. The keys are coming up. Missy, back to you.
All right, guys, that sounds good. Well, the Bengals had scored 38 or more points in their last 2 games prior to their bye week and lost both, joining the 1966 Giants as the only 2 teams to do so in NFL history. Cincinnati is hoping to win back-to-back games in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Merrill Hodge explains what the Steelers will need to watch out for in his latest playbook. That's up next as the Mike Tomlin Show continues. We're back in a flash.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Show off your black and gold knowledge with Immaculate Prediction, the Steelers predictive game that gives you a chance to win some great prizes. Here's one of this week's questions. Will Aaron Rodgers have over or under 1.5 passing touchdowns on Sunday? Just head to the Steelers mobile app now to compete for this week's first place prize, a jersey signed by Alex Highsmith. Good luck. Well, after starting the season 4-1, the Steelers are now 5-4. There are various reasons for why the team has faltered, but not playing complimentary football would be one way to sum it up. Merrill Hodge has more in this week's playbook about what each side of the ball needs to do against the Bengals on Sunday.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the Playbook presented by Microsoft Copilot. All right, it's a rematch. Cincinnati Bengals. They're coming to town. This is true, and I say it every year. Teams win championships. Teams win games. Now, why I'm setting this up, Cincinnati has a potent offense. I think everybody knows that. They put 30 to 50 points on everybody, not just the Steelers, everybody. And it's a real problem. That's why it takes a team to help beat them. So I want to show you just how the Steelers went about attacking their offense initially in the first matchup. And this is about as good as you can do. You know, they got two dynamic receivers that everybody knows about. You got Higgins and you got Jamar Chase. Okay, they tried to neutralize those guys the best they could a majority of the game. This is a great example of that. They tried to double them. You know, you got Higgins at the top, Jamar Chase at the bottom. When we snap the ball, both of them are going to run in-breaking routes. The Steelers end up doubling them. Do a good job here. They take them away. But they have other depth at their wide receivers. Their names might be not well known, but you have one-on-one matchups that they won in this particular matchup, and they do actually every Sunday against defenses. This is the problem. They're so deep that you can double their two best guys, take them away, but their third best guy can be good enough to be your guy in the case of this one. Now, they got a really explosive play. So how do you go about helping your defense from an offensive perspective? Well, controlling the tempo, the ability to run the football, and finish drives and score points. If you think of the last matchup, 2 turnovers, a touchdown called back, those all hurt. But one area of the Cincinnati Bengal defense they have struggled with all year, and they continue to struggle, is the perimeter. You know, they do not handle the perimeter very well. Rather, it's a run. This particular play is a pass play, but it's very similar to a run. The Bears attacked their perimeter and just destroyed them. They just don't respond very well. They don't hold contain. Once you pitch the ball here, inside defenders are already lost. They're outflanked, and everybody else is accounted for on the perimeter. Even though this is type of a pass play, it's no different than a pitch play from under center. But you can see how they don't react to it very well. You got both guys accounted for, and you got your receiver on the perimeter. Chunks of yards, big play. They did this the entire game, quite honestly, to them. So in this matchup, when you look at the second go-around, you got to eliminate the turnovers, but you also got to help your defense by how you control the ball, how effectively you do run the ball, and then you complement that with the passing game. You do that, you win the second matchup.
And you can catch all of Merrill's playbooks on the team's official YouTube page. Well, for the second year in a row, Cincinnati is playing Pittsburgh coming off their bye week. The Steelers won that meeting last season, and under Coach Tomlin, the team is 10-7-1 against teams post-bye. For more on how the Steelers can get even with the Bengals, it's time for Keys to the Game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Let's head back to Bob and Coach. Guys.
Hey, Missy, thanks very much. Mike Tomlin is here to talk about the Bengals. Now, this is your second time seeing Al Golden in a different side of it. Did you learn anything the first time? Any tendencies that come up?
Yeah, I certainly did. He has a definitive personality. He's a fundamentalist, and by that I mean he's small menu as opposed to big menu. Oftentimes that gives you a leg up as you prepare against them, but there's an execution component of it too. Their players know what he's doing very well. And so, the theory there is to execute at a high level. He mixes things up rather well. I like his utilization of Dax Hill at the nickel position. DJ Turner's playing big ball on the outside, and you see him relying on him schematically in that way, putting him in some one-on-one circumstances and distributing help elsewhere. Man, he's got a really sound approach. He's working with some new people, and that creates a challenge. He's got a rookie linebacker tandem that's learning on the job, and that's some challenges. And certainly, he's had a variety of different people playing on the edge because of Trey's lack of availability at times, and Shamar, their first-round pick from Texas A&M, has also missed some time. And so he's had to juggle that as well, and that probably alters the perception of what he intends to do, or at least how we see it.
Another key is obviously winning these games. It always comes down to head-to-head in your division, right? And this is another opportunity.
There's no question. For us, we got to burst out of the locker room. I think it's important that we start fast because then we'll engage our fans into the environment. It'll make Joe's environment that he's working under more hostile. That aids us in terms of pass rush, get off, and so forth. When they lack communication at the line of scrimmage, they have to work on silent counts and so forth. But we can't come expecting that. We got to dictate that, and how you dictate that is you make plays early. You make plays on defense. You convert third downs on offense. You entertain the crowd so they become weaponized. And so for us, it's about having the type of start that we desire and letting the snowball build from there.
Coach, all the best.
Thank you.
Look forward to it. It's the Steelers and the Bengals coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock KDKA. Our coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. with the BetMGM Steelers kickoff. That's going to do it for this edition of the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompeani, wishing you a great game day on Sunday.